Today was our important CPI news event, and we saw numbers come out as expected. Inflation in the United States dropped from 7.1% down to 6.5% in the US. Off that news, we saw the dollar drop and indices rise. If you missed today's live stream during the event, don't worry, you can watch us live in the markets every morning, Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, along with guests from all around the world. All right, so here we go. We're going to start off in the market heat map like we usually do. Going to see how all of our assets are trending so far today. We have our major US dollar pairs right up here. Most of them are up on the day. We can see Aussie US is actually up 0.69% on the day so far, and USD JPY is down a pretty significant 1.68% on the day. Most of our indices are up. We can see here are our US indices that we just talked about. They are spiking on the day off of that CPI news, came out as expected, dropping inflation down. US 30 up 0.8%, the S&P 500 up 1.28%, and the NASDAQ 100 up 1.76%. We can see right here in our all assets box that the NASDAQ 100 is actually our biggest mover to the upside so far today, up 1.76%. US oil following very close behind at 1.73%, and gold here up 0.75% on that dollar dropping because of CPI news. Our euro pairs are again mostly up on the day. Euro USD up 0.55%, Euro JPY down 1.13%. Pound pairs, same thing. GBP USD up 0.49%, GBP JPY down 1.19%. And taking a look at this, you guys. All of our yen pairs are down massive today. USD JPY being the biggest mover to the downside. Aussie USD still down significantly, down 0.91% on the day. But yeah, our yen pairs are absolutely falling, plummeting so far today. Swiss franc pairs mostly up on the day. Aussie CHF up 0.69%. Again, CHF JPY down big time, 1.55% down so far. Australian dollar pairs, Aussie US is up 0.69%, like we just mentioned a little bit ago, and Aussie JPY, we also just mentioned, down 0.91%. Lastly, New Zealand dollar pairs, mostly up on the day. In fact, NZD CAD is even, if I can get it, it looks like it might be right at 0.01%. So all of our New Zealand dollar pairs are technically up except for NZD JPY, which is down 1.23%. NZD CHF up 0.39%. So let's head on into the watch list and take a look at our buy and sell signals. I'm going to remove our neutral biases, and I'm going to remove our indices. No commodities are listed as buy or sell, so I'm just going to remove the indices. And there we go. We are left with USD CAD is our top buy technically with a score of +5, so not a strong buy. We also have no strong sells. GBP NZD only a score of -5 here. So we might take a look at USD CAD just to take a look at that brand new inflation numbers that came out with the CPI news event. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that? We can hop into USD CAD. Let's see, USD CAD. Here we go, and like I mentioned, we have a score of +5. Our COT data is a score of +2, and our retail sentiment is a 0 score. We can take a look at those numbers right over here. So COT data, or institutional trader data, currently has institutional traders favored long on the dollar, 68.28% long and a 31.72% short. On the Canadian dollar, on the other hand, we're seeing the opposite, 67.21% short, 32.79% long for institutional traders. So favored fairly significantly long on the US dollar and fairly significantly short on the Canadian dollar. Retail sentiment, on the other hand, is 57% long, 43% short. So as you may or may not know, the way that we score our sentiment section is it has to cross a 60% threshold for us to consider it to be clear and obviously favored in one direction or the other. So because retail sentiment has not crossed over the 60% on the long side, we do still consider it to be about 50-50, even though there is a slight bias on the long side from retail traders. We do not score it a +1 or a -1 until it crosses over 60%, so that it is very clear which side side it is favored on. Our seasonality is a +1 score. We can see here that in the last 10-year average and last 5-year average, we do have the last 10-year just slightly barely above this zero neutral line here. But for the last 5-year average, the pair has been fairly bearish in the month of January. We are currently seeing it sit right on that neutral line right there. So not really leaning one way or the other. We'll see how it closes out at the end of the month to see if it's following more in suit with this 10-year average or this 5-year average. Our trend reading right now currently is a score of -2 because this pair has been trending downwards. We can see that all the way back from December 26th, we made some small downward moves, kind of stuck around in this little area right here, popped back up and then shot way back down. And now it's making kind of a small move back up to the upside. So we'll see if that continues to be the case. COT data seems to point it that way, and our fundamentals are certainly pointing it that way. We can see GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates with all scores of +1 right here. So the US dollar is beating out the Canadian dollar in all 4 of these fundamental metrics right here. So we can take a look at those numbers, including our brand new inflation numbers. So starting off with Canada's GDP growth, that currently sits at 0.7% compared to the US 3.2%. Canadian unemployment 5% compared to US 3.5%. Canada's inflation 6.8% compared to the US 6.5%, so dropping down from 7.1 where it was previously. And lastly, Canada's interest rates are currently 4.25% compared to US dollar 4.5%. Remember guys, if you want the Edge Finder for yourself and access to this awesome trading tool where we have all of this information just kind of compiled in one area for you with all these other little tabs here, you can look at economic news specifically, which would be a good one to take a look at today. You can see here are a bunch of different news events and the currencies that are affected, the time to the event, the impact on the event. We can see here for January 12th, 2023, we did in fact have US dollar CPI with a high impact on the dollar. Here is our consensus and the actual numbers coming out. We also have stuff like GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates all have their own tab. We also have Fed tracker, which again would have been nice to look at before the CPI news event. We can see the inflation rate as well as the projected inflation. So in Q1 of 2023, it was projected to finish at 6%. We are on our way there. We have dropped down to 6.5%. So we'll see if this finishes like that. And we also have interest rates. Interest rates are actually forecasted to get raised up to 5.25%. So even with the inflation rate falling already, we could potentially see interest rates rise and kind of stay at that same level. So we'll see if that is the case. We have our US dollar impact, stock market impact, and gold impact here. So that is really interesting stuff to take a look at. Our smart money tracker and retail sentiment, and of course the watch list and market heat map. So if you want access to all of these awesome trading tools, you can get access to it in the links down in the description below. You can use code A1YT for a discount at checkout if you want to purchase the Edge Finder for yourself. So go check it out. Again, code A1YT for a discount at checkout.
We have about a minute and a half before the actual spike. I'm going to get my trades pulled up so that you can see them. Let me do that right now. So here is this. I'm going to go here. I'm going to detach this so that I can see it on my other screen. Pull this off. There we go. Now we're in business. All right, guys. So we've got cool. So we've got euro dollar, pound dollar, the S&P 500, and gold. And guys, the spike is happening in 1 minute, but it seems like the spike is happening right in front of our eyes. Crazy to see it. My goodness, man, this is just a volatile morning to start out the day. And here, like I said, you can keep an eyeball right there if you want to watch my own profit and loss as we go into this event. Again, we have about 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. I'm sorry, we actually have about 30 seconds before the spike, and we'll see. I have trailing stops on this one, so even if this thing spikes against me, I will likely be stopped out of my trade for a profit. So it is a win-win kind of day for the signals group. A really rocket ship move for that S&P and gold price. Well, we're also long on gold. We just can't see it on the position. I'll show you guys after if we can stay in this trade. Stop losses here for gold. We'll see if we get nailed on that or if we can continue to hold this one. And here we go, guys. We got about 5 seconds before the spike, before the release. Let's see what the market has in store for us here. And look at this, spiking to the downside for starters. And there it goes, the S&P 500 down. And look at that. I might be out of the trade. Let's see. Am I still in it? I'm still in it. Price very, very volatile on the initial release. Definitely just got stopped out of the S&P, the gold move there for a profit. So congrats to members who are long with me on gold. We just got stopped out for a nice profit. Picked that one up last week and continued to hold it. The S&P 500. Anybody have the numbers? Comment the numbers in the chat if you have them. We'll take a look at them together in just a moment. Still up $3,400 on the S&P 500 trade. Did not get triggered out for my profit. Still trailing stops on that one. And we will see if that one wants to keep us in the trade. So yeah, look at that. Quite the volatile move. Numbers came out 6.5% as expected. There we go, guys. And the gold market did do an initial reaction to the downside, big spike. And this is, again, this is the danger of many traders trying to do the sell stops, buy stops on price. This is exactly why I do not like doing that. Because look what happens. You get sell, you enter a sell, it triggers you down here, and then now you're here. You took a massive loss in just a split second. Regardless, we are out of gold for a nice profit there. Of course, feeling a little silly now. Look at that price action right after I get stopped out. It goes right back to the highs. And the good news, the redeeming factors, we're still in that S&P 500 trade, looking pretty solid to start out the day. And wow, what a move. What are you guys trading? What are you looking at? It commented in the chat. I'm curious to see. Are you pretty bearish on the dollar across the board right now, or are you thinking that there's a buy move coming? What's your thoughts?
Well, from a technical perspective, I'm definitely very, very bearish on the DXY. On dollar alone is consistently making lower swing highs and lower lows. So from a technical perspective, I'm only looking to sell the dollar. However, because the market is very, very corrective, we've been dropping for quite some time now. I do think there is going to be a bit of a bounce for the dollar very soon, maybe next week or sometime later in the month. So I do think there will be some recovery to the upside, maybe something like that. But at the moment, from a technical perspective, I'm only looking to keep selling the dollar until I see the highs getting taken out and that reversal on the way. But yeah, at the moment, I'm still quite short on everything dollar wise.
Fair enough. Yeah. So what about your thoughts on gold? I'm curious. We had a lot of requests about gold today. What do you do you even trade gold? I don't even know if that's one you trade.
Yeah, I do trade gold. It's not often. I mainly focus on FX pairs, but I do trade gold sometimes. I don't really trade indices either or crypto, but I will check gold for some time to time, but mainly FX. But yeah, gold I've been quite bullish on. The market structure has been beautiful with this one, consistent higher highs and higher lows like the DXY, but flipped to the upside. So dollar I've been looking at 19.10, which is not too far away from coming into these highs here. So the resistance there, support there, this major key level there on the daily stroke weekly time frame. That's why I think gold is getting drawn to. Whether we break through or reverse from that is completely up to gold, but that's where I think gold is probably headed towards. So I think until we get there, any downside for gold will probably be a good buying opportunity to take it back up again.
It's stuck in this sort of a sideways range, and then we are now getting an impulse up, so that is definitely a good sign, this push. But one morning sign is, of course, is just a one candle push up, and we're now forming sort of an aggressive retrace. So by looking at this, what I do expect to happen is to continue with the overall range bound structure. So I am a trend trader. When I see a flat range, I definitely want to be staying out. And this just one push to the upside and then a retrace is signaling me a larger range. So for this one, I'm being a lot more patient. I'm seeing a potential liquidity area right here and right here. So what do I mean by liquidity area? Well, usually on the lower time frames. So let's say on the 5-minute or the 15-minute, traders are selling the range, buying the bottom of the range. They keep their stops, of course, above the range. Right here, same thing. So they are selling the top, buying the bottom of the range. Where they keep their stops? Well, usually they keep their stops in these areas right here. And these areas are full of liquidity, of course. That's why it's really important what happens in these areas. As we can see, price did break into it with a strong push, but again, it is now retracing. So
that's a clear reaction to me that we have touched the liquidity area and we will probably reverse and continue ranging, or possibly create a downtrend to the downside. So that is also an option. A downtrend is possible. Again, what do we want to do? Well, we want to follow what the market makers are doing. We don't want to follow what the retail is doing. So the market makers usually take out all of this liquidity, and then they potentially start a downtrend like this.
Make sure you guys check out the links in the description if you need broker recommendations, access to our free Discord, or want to chat with us on Telegram. If you're interested in our trading software, the Edge Finder, you can find that in the description as well. Thanks for watching.